Axie Nation. I recently reached the top 300 on the arena leaderboard, and on my way there, I learned a lot of things of how to be a better player at arena. And in this video, I'm going to share with you my top tips and tricks on how to become a pro arena player. I'm Axie Explained. Let's jump right in. Now, just to be clear, this is an advanced guide. So if you're new to the game, go check out my other video which gives you the top basic tips and tricks for arena. Tip number 1, know your exact damage output. If you want to become better at arena, you have to know exactly how much damage each of your Axies and each of their abilities do to the different types of Axies you face. You would be surprised at how much you would improve by knowing the exact amount of damage you do when calculating whether it would be enough to kill another Axie or not. So together with this, you will also start learning how much shield your opponent's Axies generate so that you can do this calculation more accurately. So what I did was, as I was playing games, I took a piece of paper and I wrote down exactly how much damage my Axies do with their different cards against different Axies. Also, I go one step further than this and actually check how much damage does a card do on its own and how much does it do when it's comboed with another card. So, for example, I know my Kingfisher on my bird does exactly 130 damage against the plant type if it is comboed with another card, but only does 121 damage when played on its own. So my advice to you is to do this with each one of your Axies and each of their abilities against 3 different types of classes. So suppose you have a bird, how much damage does each of its cards do against a type 1, which is either a bug, beast or mech? How much does it do against type 2s, which is aquas, birds and dawns? And how much does it do against a type 3, which is plants, reptiles and dusks? Luckily, you only have to do this exercise once, and once you have all the information written down, you can always refer to it, and after a while you'll know exactly how much it is. It becomes instinctive. Tip number 2. Always check your opponent's cards at the start of a match. I know I talked about this in my first video as well, but it is extremely important thing to do so that you can understand what your opponent's strategy is. Identify the key moves that could change the whole game so that you know what they are trying to do. For example, in this game, the Aqua uses Chitin Jump to prioritize the furthest target. If he can use this to kill my bird, I'm in deep trouble. But because I know that this is his strategy and that he most likely needs 4 cards to one turn kill my bird, I can predict when he will try to do it and still use my bird's abilities like this so that I can get the extra value from my bird before he dies. This is only one example of how it would help to just check the cards of your opponent first. I sometimes have been caught off guard where I didn't check the cards and then missed a perch or spinal tap from a aqua, which can then prioritize my bird and kill it instantly. So be wary, always just check the cards first so you know what you're up against. Counting your opponent's cards. So each player starts the game with 6 cards. Now each player has a deck that's made up of 24 cards because each Axie has 4 abilities and 2 cards per abilities. So you have 8 cards per Axie for 24 cards in total. Now why is this information important to know? Well, as you know, after every turn you can draw 3 new cards. If you have drawn certain cards and you use them, they don't go back into the deck to be drawn immediately. All the 24 cards from the original deck must first be drawn before you can redraw a card for a 3rd time. This only usually starts happening by round 5 or 6. But if an Axie does die early, that changes the deck size from 24 to 16, so then it can happen much faster, usually round 3 or 4 already. Let me show you with an example why this is useful information. In this game, the plant plays double Sirius. Now, I know that he won't be able to draw Sirius again until later rounds, so this frees me up to pass a turn to save energy. What I'm trying to say with this is make sure to count your opponent's key cards as they play them. This will give you a better idea of the probability that they can play that card again and whether it can be redrawn yet or not. Tip number 4, prioritization. Now, I know we all know about the moves like Smart Shot or Chitin Jump or Spike Throw, which allows an Axie to target a different Axie than it should. Well, to be able to use this ability, this reprioritization or retarget ability must be used first before they use the other abilities to combo with it. Now, this is important for two reasons. Reason number one, if you don't want it to prioritize something else, just make sure that that ability gets used later on instead of very first time. Number two, and more the point that I'm trying to get at, did you know that if you fear or stun an Axie that wants to use this move, that will disallow it to reprioritize? And this is because it is the first card in the chain that they play, so the effect doesn't take place. Here is an example of what I mean. I apply fear to my opponent's reptile, who I think is going to use Spike Throw, and now that he is feared, it doesn't take effect, and it targets my plant tank instead of my reptile, who has the lowest shield. The final thing to mention, and I'm sure you've heard this 10 million times, is count your opponent's energy. I've said it in a previous video myself. If you want to learn how to do it, go check that out. But make sure to count the energy. And if you're struggling with that, use a piece of paper and draw lines for every time an energy is used. Or put down the number after each round so that you can keep track of it. I hope this quick guide helps. If you have any questions, please leave them in a comment and I'll see if I can answer them for you. Thanks for watching. Axie Explained out.